The Spanish Governor's Palace is a historic adobe from the Spanish-Texas period, located in downtown San Antonio near the famous Riverwalk and across from City Hall. It is the last visible trace of the 18th century colonial Presidio San Antonio de Bejar complex and the only remaining example in Texas of an aristocratic 18th century Spanish colonial in-town residence. The National Geographic Society has named the landmark the most beautiful building in San Antonio. The building was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1970. It is now a museum owned by the City of San Antonio.
Hi, I'm Vince Michael. I'm Executive Director of the Conservation Society of San Antonio. Today we're going to visit the Spanish Governor's Palace, one of San Antonio's great historic landmarks. This National Historic Landmark represents the last visual remnant of the Presidio San Antonio de Bejar. Traditionally known as the Spanish Governor's Palace, it was the Comandancia, residence and office, for the captains of the military garrison from 1722 until the early 1800s. It was restored in 1930. In 1722, the Mission, later known as the Alamo, and Presidio were moved to their present locations. The facility is currently managed by the city's World Heritage Office. Today, visitors can tour rooms furnished with Spanish colonial period pieces that offer a glimpse of life during that time. The Habsburg insignia in the keystone above the entrance represents King Ferdinand VI of Spain, ruler in 1749 when this section of the building was completed. The elaborate doors were carved by Swiss craftsman Peter Mansbendel as part of the 1930 restoration. At the far end of this room, a panel reveals the original construction technique, adobe brick. The first buildings in San Antonio were adobe jacales made with a mixture of mud, clay, and binding materials like horsehair and goat's milk. Soon, adobe was formed into bricks dried in the sun. Casa Navarro, the Aturi Edmonds House, and some buildings in La Villita are also remnants of this 18th and 19th century technique. This earliest part of the complex was the commander's home and office in the 1720s, probably including a bed, chest, and a papelera or paper chest for official papers. After the next three rooms were added in 1749, this probably became a bedroom. Toribio de Urrutia became captain in 1740 following his father Jose. He added the three rooms that complete the front of the building along La Plaza de Armas. This room was likely a living room for the family and a salon for entertaining. The two fireplaces were added during the 1930 restoration by Harvey Smith. Look up and you will see telephone poles he utilized as ceiling beams, while below your feet flagstones from old city sidewalks form the floor. The original floors were probably compacted earth. The furniture is indicative of 18th century Spanish colonial life, with a fine papelera, several chairs, and a wooden table. Built by Toribio de Urrutia in 1749, this would have been his office and store, since he supplemented his military wages by selling various household and personal items to garrison soldiers, as well as the general public. The brazier here was the portable heater of its day, capable of moving its warming embers from room to room. Now displaying a series of religious and other artifacts from the colonial period, this was originally a storeroom added in the second half of the 18th century by Luis Antonio Menchaca. This room was added in 1930 by architect Harvey Smith, who wanted to show the luxury of having a separate bedroom for a child. The furniture is not original, but is appropriate to the period, and the bed frame especially is a fine piece of craftsmanship. The entire complex became a series of shops in the years after the Civil War. This back area to San Pedro Creek would have been divided in three and very utilitarian. The back area also would have been the location of an outdoor kitchen throughout the Spanish and Mexican period. Indoor kitchens, even in the finest homes, are rare before 1860. Architect Harvey Smith imagined and designed an elaborate courtyard with covered portales, a fountain, and a well to convey the sense of colonial luxury and refinement. Today, the space is a wonderful retreat for parties, weddings, and other events, and will soon be directly connected to San Pedro Creek Cultural Park. This room was added in the late 18th century by the Menchaca family and contains the only original fireplace in the house, and it still works. While the fireplace could have been used for cooking, it is more likely most cooking was done outside. Note also the lavabo, a stone sink found in Gothic cathedrals at the north end of the room. In addition to a dining room table and chairs, the room would have contained chests, bins, and cabinets for utensils and foodstuffs. Like the child's bedroom, these rooms were added by architect Harvey Smith during the 1930 restoration. The kitchen does represent the typical features of late colonial kitchens, including the wood-fired horno. You can see similar ones at Mission San Jose, also restored by Harvey Smith in the 1930s. The attached small room with staircase was a 1930 addition imagined as a storeroom or sleeping loft. This room was added by one of the commercial tenants in the late 1800s. Today it contains artifact displays, history panels, and a wonderful painting of Marqués de San Miguel de Aguayo, the second Spanish governor who visited San Antonio in 1720.
We hope you enjoyed this heritage education tour sponsored by the Conservation Society of San Antonio.